I'd like to call order a meeting of the Finance Committee. Representing the committee are myself as chair, Councilor Gould, Councilor Manning Martin, Councilor McGinn, and Councilor Turco. If there's no objections from the members of the council, I'm going to take items C and D first, and then roll back to A and B. Item 7C on the agenda is a request for a transfer of funds. They're Chapter 90 monies in the amount of $1,253,068 for road improvement projects in the amount of $1,253,068. Mr. Gingrich.
Yeah, this is our annual allotment for Chapter 90. It's basically a little housekeeping so we can get that vote in and the appropriation in place.
Any questions among members of the committee? Any questions by any member of the council? Being none, I'll accept the motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Council Gould has made the motion to transfer funds from Chapter 90 FY 2018 account 250-35216 in the amount of $1,253,068 to the road improvement projects account number 250-4210-58-134 in the amount of $1,253,068. On the motion, any discussion? Being none, roll call.
Councilors Manning Martin.
Yes.
Turco. Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0, 1 absent.
Next item on the agenda is that we're taking up is item D. This is the request for the transfer of funds from the Community Preservation Act Open Space to the Community Preservation Act Bikeway Independence Greenway Extension. Mr. Gingrich.
Yes, this request would fund a feasibility study to do an extension of the bikeway. Brendan Callahan's here. He has knowledge about that if there's any questions.
Any questions from members of the committee? Council Manning Martin.
Yes. We haven't done a feasibility study in the past on this. Isn't this the next step? And why would we not have already done a feasibility study?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes. This is a request for money for a feasibility study?
It's a request for 2 different phases. Phase 2, which is an extension of the existing bikeway from the North Shore Mall Leahy Clinic to downtown Peabody, as well as to conduct a Phase 3 feasibility study for the Route 1 connector.
Okay. So we've done the feasibility for Phase 2, obviously, but in order to move forward, you need one for Phase 3. Is that correct?
We don't need it to move forward. We're just requesting both phases. The goal of the project is to, there are 2 projects, 2 separate projects. The Phase 2 was designed back in about 2004, 2006, and we need to update the design to meet the current standards, regulate Mass DOT standards, as well as to permit and resurvey the area. And ultimately apply to get on the Mass DOT Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP program, to request construction funds for Phase 2. Phase 3 is that is to do the feasibility study for the Route 1 connector, which is it's a separate project, 2 funds, 2 projects.
If I could on the. I think the clarification that she's looking for is there's a request for these funds to be used for a feasibility study, and you had indicated that it's not required that we have funds for feasibility study. When the request here is for a feasibility study.
Yes, the funds that are request for a feasibility study.
And that is for
The
Phase 3.
Phase 3.
So, Council Manning, it's for Phase 3.
I apologize for the confusion.
That's okay. That's all right. I bring Dave wherever I go. He interprets for me. So how much is the feasibility study that you're requesting?
That portion of the funds is 60, excuse me, $62,930 will go towards the feasibility study. Phase 3. Yep.
Council Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brendan, thank you for being here. Can you tell me 30-second Reader's Digest version of the two projects? We're coming off of the North Shore Mall Road and going to Endicott Street
Correct.
on the rail.
On the rail trail that the city purchased in 2009, the city acquired that section of rail line.
Thank you. And can you tell me the other phase? How is that conceptually? Where are we going in Route 1 area? What are we doing?
Well, the city actually secured a 99-year lease with MBTA in 2013 for the rail line from the, that was the spur trail that connects to Danvers all the way to Linfield. So this study is specific just to the connection through, over, under Route 1.
So it's not specifically going over, it's a study to determine what's the best way to tie that in.
What's the best option? And as part of the study, we will actually explore Route 95 also.
Wouldn't that be exciting to have a bridge over Route 1?
Yes.
It'd be up there. Height-wise, that would be up there. Thank you very much, Mr. Creel.
Council McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Mr. Callahan. This was just for the edification of the council, and I'm a little bit more familiar with this because it was presented at the CBC. But this was not an initiative that the community development came up with. The state is actually encouraging the city to proceed with this because of the availability of TIP program funding at this moment in time. So this sum of money and this feasibility study done at this time will potentially help us leverage a very large sum of money for the construction phase from the state if it's done properly. So that's the attempt here. Is that accurate, Mr.
Yes,
Callahan?
that's accurate.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Council McGinn. Any other councilors? Being none, I entertain a motion by Council McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve the appropriation request from account 270-000-33021 in the amount of $116,385, Community Preservation Act Open Space, to account 270 as written in the Community Preservation Act Bikeway Independence Greenway Extension. So moved.
You've heard the motion by Council McGinn. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilors Manning Martin.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. We'll now flip back to item A on the agenda. It's a discussion regarding recent bill passed by the Senate, which gives city and towns the flexibility to adjust property taxes for low-income seniors, military, and disabled residents. Mr. Gingrich.
Susan and the Board of Assessors are here. She had responded to this a while back, so if there are any questions, I'd call her up to answer them.
Council Manning, is Susan here? Let me see, come on. Just save us a step. Council Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, if you could, you've given a very thorough description of what we currently have for offsets for veterans, seniors, disabled widows, and surviving spouses of minor child or firefighter killed in the line of duty. But I was wondering, I know that the law had changed maybe in July, so I was looking to see if you could give us an update of how the law changed and how it affects our current offerings now.
Sure. Every July, the Department of Revenue issues guidelines, as to what's changed or what local options are available for the cities and towns to vote on for exemptions. There's not much that has changed other than there were things that Peabody could vote on to increase different exemptions, lower the income and asset requirements for certain seniors, could increase the exemption amounts if that is an option that the city is interested in. Also concerning tax deferrals, could lower the interest rate of the deferred amount that the applicant would pay back to the city. That would be an option that the city could also vote on.
When is the last time we made any adjustments to our current offerings?
It's been a while. Back in, bear with me, fiscal 2005, we made several changes. We lowered the age requirement from 70 to 65 for senior exemption. We also increased the tax deferral limit from $20,000 to $40,000 annual income. And then every year we do opt, or since I believe 2005, and every year it's voted on at the classification to increase the exemptions. And in the past, probably the past maybe 8 years or so, it's been about 40%, an additional increase on top of the statutory exemption amount. Well, yes.
It stays at 40%.
It stays at 40%. So if the statutory exemption amount, for instance, is $500, we have increased it by 40%, so we're giving $700. So that could be increased up to 100%. So if the statutory amount is $500, we could give $1,000. That's something that could be voted on.
Okay, so, and I'm sorry, the last time we made any adjustments, did you say was 2005?
2005.
Wow, that's quite.
Those major adjustments, but that 40% is voted on annually.
So that's been about 12 years since we took a look at all these variables. Do you think it would be wise of us to take a look to see if we are being fair and are doing all that we can do to be fair with these exemptions?
Well, right now we give 535 taxpayers $373,000 in tax exemptions of all the various clauses. Anything that it's voted on additionally, obviously, would have to come from the budget and be paid for. But there certainly is room to vote on those as far as council option to do so, to increase income and asset amounts so that more seniors could qualify for tax exemptions.
Okay, I think it might be, I mean, I'm just getting the sense it's been 12 years, and I think we may want to take a look at the number of seniors that we do have, or veterans, or blind individuals, and what their income is, and take a look, because 12 years I think is a long time. Demographics change, so I think that might be something for us to take a look at. So perhaps we can keep it in finance and kind of bring it back up next year with a new council. We'll take a look at it. That's my suggestion.
Any objections to that? Rest of the council, Council Gould?
No objection, Mr. Chairman. Susan, can you repeat what you said, the number of taxpayers get back certain dollars, please?
Sure. 535 taxpayers or homeowners received $373,000 in tax exemptions for fiscal 17.
Thank you. I agree with Councilor Manning. Let's keep it in committee and take a look at it after the first of the year, because there's an opportunity here to help some people. Thank you.
Councilor Manning Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And lastly, how do we get this information out to folks? And because, again, people can enter into being eligible certainly every year, and if we don't get that information to them, they can go several years without being aware that there are exemptions for them. So how do we get the information out to them?
Sure. It is on the tax bill. It specifically it doesn't go into detail, but it says if you are interested in filing for an exemption, contact the assessor's office for information. It's on the website, all the different criteria for all the various categories: veterans, blind, elderly, and widows. And we just keep information on the website as much up to date.
Okay, I guess we can take a look at how we can get that information out there with newer technology and other avenues. So, okay, thank you very much.
Councilor Gould.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I should have said it before, along Councilor Manning Martin's lines. Susan, is it possible to set up some kind of tutorial for the folks at home or at the senior center? Because there's a captured audience up there, and we have a lot of volunteers there that do taxes and other financial planning for seniors. Maybe we could see if there's an opportunity to educate them.
Sure, absolutely. In the past, it's been probably a good 10 or 12 years. We did, in the past, go over to the senior center on occasion and give a presentation concerning exemptions to them.
Great, because a lot of them, I'm sure, don't know how to go about any of that stuff.
Sure.
So, thank you.
Any other councils? Seeing none, we'll just keep this in the Finance Subcommittee until a new council is sworn in. We'll move on to item B on the agenda, which is the discussion regarding the city's insurance coverage. And I know this was requested by Councilor Walsh, by Councilor Manning Martin. That's right.
Yes, thank you. I see that after you had presented to us this last year, what was the cap was elevated to 2 million instead of 1?
right.
And that was after the fire, right?
Right.
Is 2 million, at the water treatment plant, is 2 million the most that we can get for, what's that kind of insurance called when you're not in business? What's it called? Interruption of service? Is that the cap? Is 2 million?
No, it's not a cap. We could add to that. We just went up from $1 million to $2 million, but we could go higher.
But everything's at a cost, right? So
Oh, right.
for every million of increased aggregate coverage you pay, what's the premium increase?
I don't think it's very much.
Good, short money.
$1,000.
Because we were insured for $1 million in non-interruption. We spent the $1 million, then we had to go $1 million in reserves, and I think we'll be coming again for another $1 million in reserves shortly. So we weren't covered to the amount we needed to be. So it's increased now. Kind of the horse left the barn, but I'm glad that we're increased to the amount that we're at now, I guess. So, okay, thank you.
Any other councils? Any motions on that? Councilor Manning, do you want to, just information?
No, I just wanted information on that. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda will be item E, which was a motion for refinancing the remaining bond at the golf course, and I believe that was brought up by Councilor Sinowitz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Unfortunately, this was a late communication, so I'm just taking this all in. What I'm reading here is that the savings over the 3 years is $14,000. Is that what you're telling me?
No, that's actually the cost.
That's our cost over 3. What would our savings be per year? We're paying $485,000 on the bond per year, and you have 2.5 years left.
You would reduce your payment each year by about $100,000.
Okay, so that's considerable. What I would like to do also is I'd like to, and I can't make this motion, so because I'm not on this committee, but I'd like one of my fellow councilors, I'd like to look at, when we discussed this last time, Councilor Gravel's suggestion, looking at the city paying off the bond and than the golf course paying back the city. That might be more profitable for the city. And so that's, but before I do that, I just have some comments. You know, it says 2 years, 2 cycles, yes, but it's really 2.5 years. We have 6 months left of this term, and then we got another cycle and another, so it's really 2.5 years. And there's a potential of, if we lose 100, 100, and 100, we could be out another 300,000. And there was talk about creating a driving range to the cost of $40,000. There's not enough money in retained earnings to do that. So I don't think this council, or I can't speak for this council, would want to take money out of free cash to build a driving range with the potential to lose money at the end of the year. So I just think that refinancing this some way, that does take the pressure off. If they had a bad year, we would break even. Okay. But, you know, I do, and at the end of the day, I did find that that meeting was bothersome at the lack of business acumen going on over there. You know, not to realize the value of adding food to that revenue, and the talk about, you know, a liquor license, which the only reason I brought that up for a one-day license, because that's what he put on the sheet, and for him to deny he knew anything of it is kind of, you know, that's you know, that was extremely irritating, and I don't like wasting my time, you know, when we have these discussions. That's what I felt like I was doing. But and then the other thing was, I'm hoping the mayor will look into that. I made that motion about hiring a company to come in and evaluate it, and I think that would be very enlightening and to improve revenues over there.
Yeah, we're absolutely going to do that over the
So
winter.
that really needs to be done, and I don't know if it can be done in the winter, because the way they do it is they want to be there actively walking the course during when people are playing it and see what they're doing, request all the budgets, and that type of thing, what you're paying for rounds, cost analysis. So that I think would be critical, and then refinancing it takes the pressure. I've been through all this, you know, before, but I wish I had a little more time to study this. But Councilman Gravel,
If you'd like, I have to schedule another finance committee meeting next Thursday.
okay,
So if you want to continue this to
Yes.
that meeting, that would
Perfect, we
be,
can.
that'd give you the opportunity.
yeah. So we still want to do that motion, so you'll have that paperwork for the next meeting.
For,
I want you to look at what it would, if it's feasible for the city to pay off the loan. Because obviously you're telling me you can't go beyond 3 years on a refi. Okay,
yeah,
so-
if you want to take it from reserves, that would be the way to do it.
Well, let's do a cost analysis on what the return is on our money. I think it might, in how, you know, do different terms.
Okay.
That's not that difficult, I don't think.
Would you like to speak?
Yeah, thank you. First, absolutely, we're going to do that examination. I thought that was a great suggestion, and I think that's something that will benefit us, benefit the course, come up with some different ideas to make some revenue. And I'm glad that you're going to keep it in committee, because I do think, Councilor, these points you've raised are good, and I think we need to continue the discussion. You know, I think there's some things they do very well over there, but there's some improvements that need to be made. I know there's some additional sources of revenue that could be brought in, and I think we need a little bit of help, some management to come in and do a review, and then I think we can really make some strides there. So if we could keep, thank you, Mr. Chairman, if we can keep it in committee for further discussion, that'd be great. But we're definitely going to do that examination, Council.
Okay, that'd be great. Could Councilor Turco make that motion, please?
Move to,
Councilor Turco moved to, is making a motion to refer the discussion of the bonding in the golf course as well as other revenue items to the Finance Subcommittee to be held on Thursday, November 16th.
so moved.
Great motion. On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? Let's vote. And at that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.